Who would have known that there would be so much drama in one day? Like, Lord have mercy. The phone call that I got today was just, I'm getting evicted. I'm personally, in my space, I'm good. I'm not getting evicted. But the apartment that I have in Florida, man, I was like, okay, I uploaded a video earlier today about the Snapchat freaking stalking and stuff, and I thought, oh, that was gonna be a lot of drama. Oh, that's enough for one day. But then my ex called me and said that he has to pay rent by tomorrow or they are filing eviction paperwork. And I'm like, today's the 10th. When were you gonna pay the rent? Like, what is happening? Like, how do you not pay your rent? So I've been living in this apartment here. I signed my lease December 23rd of 2021, and it is now January 2023. So I've been in this apartment over a year, and I'm very happy. Was planning on staying here. At the time in December of 2021, I also had an apartment in Florida, and I was in a domestic violence type of relationship on both ends. Like, I was violent to him back because I'm not gonna that wasn't in me. So we decided that I would move to California and he would keep the apartment. Lord, was that a terrible idea? So then he paid the rent. But all of a sudden, come September of this year, is like the rent hasn't been paid consistently or on time. And in December, I got they sold the company, and I got a notice saying that the rent hasn't been paid for December. So I talked to the company. I'm like, hey, how do I get my name off of this lease? And they're like, the company is being sold. We'll contact the new company that we sold the building, the property to, and we'll let you know. Well, nobody let me know. And I'm like thinking adults are adulting. Like, why wouldn't we? And that the rent was going to be paid for January, and it hasn't. And now they're going to file for eviction. And I'm like, I don't live with him. I don't be with him. Like, we are not together. I'm not with him. We do not speak like that. We do not like each other like that. And the last thing that I heard, this is the mental health that goes on. The last thing that I heard was, well, from him, that he was gonna get a high-rise apartment in Miami, and that he wanted me to take over the lease again, to take over the apartment in Miami and move back to Florida and live in that apartment so that he could move out and move to a high-rise. And that was the last thing that I heard in November. Flip the script to today and December, and it's like, how was you supposed to move in a high-rise? Why are you trying to mess with me and make me feel like I'm doing down bad in life or not able to move into a high rise, and that you are, type of thing? Like, why would you be like, you move back here and I'll move a high rise? Like, why wouldn't I move to a high rise? Like, duh. So I'm just like, what do you do? What do you do? Because I called the property management company and was like, please, how do I take my rent? And I explained to the girl, and I said, I do not have no kids. This is my ex. I do not want to pay his rent. I don't want to pay his rent this month, next month. I don't want to. This is my ex. Come here, chicken nugget. This is my ex. Like, what do you mean? So they said they're going to call me back. And this is the second eviction that I have now to deal with because of a guy. And a lot of people know when I first started out on the internet, I was with this thing called the Panda Family, and that person, that he got me evicted from an apartment too. Not like it was his apartment. And so the story behind that one is like I was in grad school in LA, and I was on my Vogue rehab, so I was using like military assistance. And when you get military assistance for school, they calculate a thing called BAH, which is like your basic allowance for housing. And the LA BAH or something is like 2,800 because it's a very expensive housing market. I was living with my brother, who was also using his GI Bill. He was using GI Bill. I'm using Voc Rehab. So we had a 2-bedroom apartment, and my rent was like 1,200 or 900 plus utilities, something like that, right? I meet this guy who now goes by the name Panda, and he was living in a building called the Essex Skyline, which is why when I came online, my name was L at the Essex, because I lived in a building called the Essex. And if you Google the Essex Skyline in LA, it is a luxury high-rise apartment building. His rent was like 3,500, 30 something hundred, like 3,500. So clearly way more expensive than my apartment, my 2-bedroom apartment with my brother. And when we started dating, we would mostly hang out at his house because like you have your own space, I have a shared space, and I would come over and do laundry, we would cook dinner, I would spend the night there. And after 8 months of doing that, he's like, hey, I want to get you a key, but because it's a key fob building, you have to sign this paperwork with the front desk. I signed the paperwork, and I'm just like, whatever, to get a key, I guess, cool. Meanwhile, it wasn't just paperwork, it was a lease agreement. You have to be on the lease to get a key for these luxury high-rise buildings because they're like very secure and whatever. And he owned his own company, so in order to have me added on the lease, it was like I didn't need to provide any bank statements or like anything. They just added me off of him having been lived there for 5 years and you know, his income or whatever. And that's in August. I get a key, everything goes fine until November. Damn, November is like a bad month. November, December is a bad month for these fuckers. Come November, he's like, I don't have money for rent next month. How much money do you have in like how much money do you have? And he's like, I know you get your BAH, so that'll cover the rent. And I'm like, I have my own apartment, I have to pay rent. And he's like, well, I need you to pay the rent for this month. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a savings, so I take out money from my savings. And at the time I had like 15,000 in savings. Because I have an obsession with making money, but like not to buy things, just to have the money. I don't know, it's like a hoarder thing or something. So all through grad school, even though I was getting paid GI Bill, Voc Rehab, I still had an internship and I was still working. So, and I wasn't doing much because it's like you're in school. So I was going to school 20 hours a week, working 40 hours a week, and doing my internship 24 hours a week. So it was like in between sleeping, eating, and driving in LA traffic, I didn't have time to do anything. So I would just save money every month for like 3 years while I was in school. And when we hit this wall, it was like, okay, I'll pay the rent. So I paid the rent for December. Then January come around and he's like, I don't have money for the rent again. And I'm like, I don't want to pay the rent. Like, I don't understand how this became my responsibility. And he's like, um, you could be one of those type of people who is going to leave me you when I'm down and out, and you were with me for the whole high life, the good stuff, while I'm working. I hope this is not somebody calling. He's like, you can he's like, you can be all, you were around for the parties and the good stuff, and when I had money things were good, and now I'm down bad and you're gonna just leave me. And he's like, I'll figure it out with or without you, but you're just gonna have the money in your savings account and not pay the rent. So I paid the rent again for January. So it's like, at this point, like 35 and 35, and so it's like 7,000. And when I tell you, my savings account started going so fast that I paid February as well. Come March 1st, well, it was like February 15th, I was like, look, I do not have money for March rent. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I graduate school in 2 months because I was graduating in May. I was like, I used the money for my Puerto Rico trip. I was supposed to go to Puerto Rico as a graduation gift to myself. I've used all of my savings. I have no more money after the VA stops giving me money for school. So, like, you really need to get off of your ass and figure out what you're going to do. I said, you haven't been paying any rent since November, and it's now February. I don't have no children, and I did not sign this lease like you're. And funny enough, at the time, I still didn't know that I had signed the lease. He still hadn't told me that I was on the lease with him. So I'm telling him, I don't have a $3,500. I know that I'm not making that money. I'm in school. I'm literally a student. I would never ever sign a lease for $3,500. Even when I was getting $2,800 for living expenses, I still got a roommate. I wouldn't have signed this lease. So figure it the hell out. Like, get off your ass. So what he decided to do was move out, not pay March rent, and leave before they could do the eviction paperwork. He didn't pay March, and on March 5th, we moved out to an apartment that I found in Huntington Beach. And I want to say, like, 2 months later, I started doing online, like, started doing adult work after that. That was like the solution. That's how I ended up like doing adult stuff. So then I start applying for apartments. Like, we're on a 3-month lease because the apartment that I found, he still didn't do anything. That's the funny part. Still didn't do anything. I went online. I found a sublease on Craigslist from a girl who was like, we're trying to move our leases up in September. Can you take over our lease from May until September? Like a 3-month or something type lease. I'm like, okay. We take over this girl's lease, and the like housing was so hard to find in the first part, so I started looking for apartments like sooner. That's when I find out that I have now on my record $6,006 something owed to this property company for, it's not technically an eviction, but it's failure to pay, because he didn't pay March rent, and then you have to pay 1 month rent to break your lease. Which 7 years later, they sent me a bill last month, couple months ago, saying that he still hasn't paid it, that there's still $6,000 thing due on it, and that is gonna stay on my record. So now, because he didn't pay his rent, and now this new one, this other ex is not paying his rent, I'll have two things. So it's like, and the first one was my fault for just being so like in love and being like, of course I want a key, like I'll get a key to your apartment. The second one, this most recent one might damage my heart, actually. Are we being sweet to each other? This one might actually change the person that I am. Because the funny part about all of this is I had a boyfriend in between these two. A lot of people may remember him because he did do content with me at some point in time and was a community manager of my Discord. I moved to Atlanta for him, and because I was 3,000 miles away from home, he's like, I'm not gonna put you out on the street. I'll sign an apartment for you in Atlanta and give you a year. And the stipulation was he would have my banking info, like the account and routing number, so that he could do the auto pay for the rent. So I had someone be very kind and sign paperwork and do something and put their lease in their name, and I paid my rent every single month because somebody was doing something so kind for me that I wasn't in a relationship with anymore, and that it would be like, why as an adult are you not paying your rent when it affects somebody else? So stop. Can we be sweet to each other? So it's like, I have been on the other situation. I have lived in an apartment that somebody else signed the lease for me, and I have paid the rent every month to make sure that that person wasn't negatively affected by my behavior. The only thing I cared about was paying the rent so that they weren't negatively affected by my behavior. And now it's like it's not reciprocated, and that's a learning lesson on my part at like 33, that you can't believe that people will do for you the things that you will do in hindsight. He said 2 evictions, 3 DUIs, it's all downhill. I have 0 DUIs. I mean, just to clarify, the titles are like so that I can remember what I was talking about in that video. My homegirl got her 3rd DUI, and my best friend that I live upstairs from has a 2nd DUI. These motherfuckers be getting DUIs like I am a full-fledged alcoholic, so I am responsible with my drinking. It might be to excess for sure, but I never want my drinking, how bad it be affecting my life, to ever impact anybody else. And we all know it be the drunk drivers that kill a whole family and live. So it's not gonna be me. I don't drink and drive for the simple fact that like I drink way too much to ever get behind the wheel of a car, and have way too much like a responsibility for how damaging drinking is to me myself. So no, but she got her 3rd DUI, and that was crazy. My other homegirl is getting her coworker paid a hacker to hack her account, and now my ex is getting evicted. I'm not getting evicted. I'm technically, see, here's the thing. it's not gonna get evicted. That rent's gonna get paid. I ain't gonna get evicted. I'll figure it out. I'll be on the street corner tap dancing all day today to get that rent paid. Don't play with me. I'm not going down with the second eviction. And the first one isn't really an eviction. It's a failure to pay. Had I known that one, I'd have figured that one out too. It's not gonna be like life just having its way with me. Never that. Never that. I just feel like when abuse happens and things happen and you don't talk about them, or people don't know what's going on in your life, you can get made to feel crazy, and you can get made to feel like what's happening is like you're very alone. And a lot of this is very embarrassing for me, to be honest. Nobody should be this way at 30. You should really like have learned a lot of lessons, or have people in your community who have advice or life, experiences that could lead you to not have these happen. And they always talk about the nuclear family. The idea of smaller couples leads to a tremendous amount of abuse because people don't want to talk about it. And I'm really ashamed that this is happening right now. Like, this should not be happening, and I'm embarrassed, but I'm still gonna talk about it because it's happening. It's real. And I guess if we're gonna do my AI chatbot, like, I have to take accountability for the shit pile that I'm sitting in, for sure. For sure my fault. For sure my fault. But what I'm gonna do, like, I think it's like the difference is if somebody want empathy or to blame other people or to like, versus just like a collection of memories, please don't feel bad for me. I'm a motherfucking idiot. Oh, fucking idiot. But I need to make sure that these memories exist. So, a third DUI it is. Can the 10 of you put a thumbs up for me? It's okay if you don't want to like the content, but no, I didn't quit doing. I just was in a relationship with somebody for a long time. The same person who's not paying their rent. It was a very, very abusive situation that I allowed to happen as an adult. So I could have at any point left and dealt with the consequences. Like, this person has my social security number. This person has my new address and location and has like physically threatened to harm me, has threatened to physically harm my family and friends, and has actually in life put me in the hospital 3 times. So I have a real life fear of this person. It's not unfounded. I have this was a birthday gift from this person. Oh, almost took my whole leg off. Ended up in the hospital like with 28 stitches. So I have a real life fear. It's not some like, oh, they'll just no, they will find me. So there's that. Me? Did I fall behind on her? No. I'll let y'all rewatch the video so you could see what's going on, but just so y'all know, it's my mental health that's perishing, not my real health. or livelihood. I'll be fine where I'm living. Oh, there's like a me, right? Like a me, and then there's like a paper version of who you are, and like that legal paper version. Be going through it. Oh, girl. Oh, girl. I just didn't think my phone or y'all could deal with a second upload today. Oh, yeah. So this current eviction is not because of him, and this leg thing is not because of him. That's from the current ex, the one from Florida. The first eviction sure was from him. From but all's well that ends well. Let's go. She's so curious. We'll figure it out. Life. Okay, bye.